Building a business is really, really hard, and you have to ask yourself a lot of questions. Do I start with a product, or do I build a service company? Now, today we're gonna kind of break down the difference between the two, and more importantly, which is better?
Which is better?
Let me ask you, what really makes a good doctor? If you're not happy, how are you supposed to help your patients?
I'm Jay Feldman, this is Tommy Worcester, and we're both entrepreneurs in very different spaces. Starting off with a little bit of background about me, I actually own multiple service companies, and I'm a huge believer in the service industry, whereas Tommy over here, tell him a little about yourself.
A little bit more of a products guy. I believe products are more scalable. Well, Jay?
I like the MRR, or in other words, monthly recurring revenue. And I also like the idea of not having to really commit to something that might not work up front, especially if you're starting a business from scratch. I strongly believe services is the way to go.
So you want to start a business, and you want to come up with a product, or you want to come up with a service, and you're kind of balancing between which one to go after. Now, the answer, like almost everything in life, is it depends. Products, and in my opinion, are often best started when you have existing capital and you're able to find that gap and exploit it in the market. While services, as Jay's previously mentioned, are easier to start from zero because, again, you're trading your time, your service, in exchange for monetary value. We're gonna go into the pros and cons of what works, what doesn't, when is it better to have a product company, when is it better to have a service company, and some things we've learned along the way.
Love it. Let me tell you a little bit about the service industry and some of the things that I've done. Maybe services are right for you, maybe they're not. So a couple of the services that I've offered over the years include writing, tutoring, and my current and biggest business, which is digital marketing, a hugely popular industry right now. So the issue with the service industry and the barrier for most people getting into it is that you have to be very good at something, you have to master a skill, and you have to face clients. Client facing is one of the worst things in business. It's basically...
Worst or the most challenging thing?
Most challenging, especially depending on who your clients are.
Definitely.
For example, in my writing company, I had to deal with some of the worst clients ever. Whereas in my Instagram marketing agency, some of my Instagram clients have been some of the best people I've ever worked with, as opposed to digital marketing. When you're doing web development and content creation for people, that's very difficult to please them. Granted, the margins are much higher, but just the amount of communication and customer support that they require go way exponentially up. Now, the service industry is awesome because if you're just starting from scratch, you probably don't have much capital and you don't have any investors because you don't have any experience. So my very first company ever was a writing company. And I started off helping people perfect their personal statements, research papers, and also did some tutoring on the side. Once I had enough customers, whereas I couldn't keep up with the workload myself, you hire other professionals in the industry to help you. You contract them, you hire contractors, 1099 contractors, to help you fill that workload. And that's really how you can scale a service industry from zero to $1 billion, if you're lucky, probably not.
Yeah.
But you can build and scale a service industry if you're willing to put in the hard work up front. The problem with that is you'll probably have to do a lot of that work yourself when you're starting off with, because if you're paying these contractors, your margins go way down, especially when you're starting off and you have 3-5 clients. You want to make 100% of those margins.
Yeah.
So that's when I think the service industry is great for you, but be ready to eat shit from your clients, not actually eat shit.
Jay,
because it's
how bad was that writing business? Now, conversely, Jay brings up a really good point in that service businesses are easy to get off the ground early on. But what happens when you scale? After a while, competition begins to emerge. Imagine we're in the United States of America, which we are now, and you've got 3 main markets. You've got New York, you've got Los Angeles, and you've got Austin, Texas. Now, let's say you start a plumbing business and you're going and working on people's pipes and unplugging toilets. And by the way, that's a really, really good margin business. But the problem is, the ability to scale that service business is going to be tied to your ability to then replicate that service better than anyone else across the country before anyone else can do it. A plumber in Austin can render the exact same service as a plumber in New York. So the thing that's often stopping a service company from becoming a $1 billion company is kind of a reason of scale, right? It's so easy to replicate the service, and if 5 people can do it, it's not about the free economy anymore, it's about who can do the job for the right price. So while you may offer a writing class for $100, if Steven down the street at the same quality level can give it to me for $80, then he's won my business. And now we kind of start to unpack why service companies have trouble scaling is because competition as it relates to service products is so fierce. Let's talk about other products, right? For me, I I started a company called Lunchbox, where we have a lot of intellectual property around an anti-theft bag developed for international travel, festival goers, the outdoors. You can't replace our product. You can come up with like substitutes, like a Camelback or like another hydration pack, which is a competitor to us, but you can't copy exactly our product. If your intellectual property is best in class, which again we definitely have, at least I hope so, if it's best in class, you can't copy it. If you can't copy it, I get to expand into Los Angeles and Austin without any competition because I can't be copied. So the nature of how a product market fit is determined within new markets is really about how copyable a product is or a service.
That is an excellent point, and you're right, that is a huge barrier for service industry people, is you do have to be the best and you have to market well. Now, a reason that I think this is doable, for one of the reasons, everyone needs the service that I'm providing. And if I have a repeat customer, because my service is good, because I've created a good customer experience for them, that customer will come back month and month or year and year or week and week again, however you want to price it.
Get that recurring revenue, baby, right?
Recurring revenue, so that one customer who is with you for an entire year is like your 12 customers.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. But yes, you have to be excellent at it. And of course, every industry and every business I've ever built was not the first of its kind. But I've made sure that we are, I'm not even sure we're the best, but we're very, very good. And we create an awesome customer experience so that when a customer signs up with us, it's painful for them to leave and they feel a connection to my business. It's like your business has a personality, and you have to, show that to your client and make your client connect with you in order to keep them month after month after month. And with the service industry, that I think is the best thing, because they're gonna keep coming back if they have a good time. So that's where it poses a little challenge for the CEOs and executives in that service business, is how do we create the best customer experience? How do we make sure that they don't go with the next guy or try out that company? And of course, we've lost customers to other companies, but we have an awesome customer experience, and that is, I think, the key to the service industry.
I think that's really well said. Again, we're talking about the difference between services. The person who comes in, who's on time, who brings extra little treats, who writes a thank you note. The little things that stand out actually characterize the reason that one service is distinguished over the other.
Yeah.
That unlocks service scale. So it's kind of funny how that kind of came full circle.
I actually have a question for you about the products industry. You were saying how if you have the correct IP, for example, you've patented certain things about your hydration pack.
Yeah.
Do those patents protect you? I mean, if you have a great product, what is stopping businesses out there from saying, oh wow, that product is doing really well and it's the only one out there?
Yeah.
Let's do a spin-off. Let's create something similar, maybe even try and improve it.
Yeah.
And then they've got investors, they've got marketing money.
Yeah.
What protects you from them doing that?
It depends on how they approach it. So if somebody wants to knock off a Lunchbox in the United States, then I have the ability to sue in the court of law and say that you guys are encroaching my patent, and any sales revenue that they have generated is going to come back to me. However, and there's something that's kind of underlying your question here, which is a patent is only as powerful as the money you have to enforce it. Mm-hmm. If you are unable to pay legal fees against a big company that knocks off a patent, you can't really do anything. So there's kind of like that fine line of, okay, how good is a patent and how much money do you have to enforce it? That's one part of it. The other is actually kind of similar to the like substitute product. So for example, let's say you hold a patent on a water bottle. Can you get that water bottle for me right there? Boom. So Jay has a patent on the screw top for this water bottle. It's a really good screw top. He's got intellectual property. They've granted him several claims. He is the only person who can come up with a screw top. But the job to be done, the service to be provided in a bottle is not the way it opens or closes, it's the liquid inside. Can I take a drink?
Backwash.
Oof, damn, mint. But the point is that just because you have one mechanism of doing it doesn't mean that I couldn't have a flip cap, doesn't mean that I can't have a zip tie, doesn't mean I can have one of a million other mechanisms. So the interesting thing about products with good IP is you need to actually get ahead of all those embodiments. So if you have a patent on a screw top and a clap top and a flat top and whatever kind of enclosure you have, then you start to really develop powerful intellectual property. The problem is most people who develop these products are learning as they go, and they don't see those embodiments until it's too late or until a spin-off's been developed.
I feel a video coming on IP protection. I think that would be a really good idea.
Yeah.
So I actually have a product business myself. I started a nutritional supplement company, and it's actually doing pretty well. We're one of the highest grossing nutritional supplement of its kind on Amazon. So I've got some experience there. But the problem with a lot of products, and you did it the right way. If I was ever to go into the product industry, I would develop something really high quality, unique, and something with your own IP where you can't get ripped off.
Yeah.
The product we created was actually a spin-off of another product, and we had it created in a factory, and there's no IP that can be put on this thing because it's just a combination of vitamins. Maybe you could, but all they would have to do is add a vitamin and change it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really worth it in our case. In our case, it was branding, but there's a lot of different ways to go about the product industry if that's something you're interested in. Not everyone wants to fly to China multiple times, work with a factory, work with lawyers to try and get the IP, work with a design team to actually design the product.
Yeah.
That's so many steps, and it's kind of intimidating for people.
But think about it, that barrier to entry is why it's so hard to replicate.
Yeah.
And there's something that you mentioned earlier, which is that, when you had your product business, you basically, you've had a product that was the top of its kind of Amazon, but when you think about what really makes a product business powerful is beyond the intellectual property, that customer experience that we've seen in the service business is what we call the brand in the products business. Because you have this expectation of excellence. You have this expectation of how you're gonna be treated, what that community feels like. You know what this company will do for you. And so I would also argue that even in a case where you don't have intellectual property, if you build that beautiful brand where you build the right communities and you reach out to people in authentic ways, and honestly, sometimes that means doing things that don't scale, like writing thank you notes or having one-on-one conversations. But when we talk about products businesses, it's so easy to get lost in the idea that, oh, I can only have a product business if it has IP, or I can only have a product business if it's a knockoff. The truth is, you want to wrap it under an umbrella of a brand and deliver a quality customer experience over and over so people can keep coming back to you. And that's recurring revenue for me.
Absolutely. Love that you said that. So a lot of people that are looking into getting into the products business, and I hope you can touch a little bit on this, are going into white labeling, drop shipping, and supplements, which is another major thing, which is kind of totally different than what you're doing.
Right.
What are some pros and cons to each of those, spin-offs of product?
Well, I kind of want to harp specifically on drop shipping here. The thing about drop shipping is that it's a marketing game. The best marketer is always going to win in the drop shipping market, right? Welcome to the fad of fidget spinners, of the little fidget cubes, and all these crazy quick products. Whoever the best marketer is going to win. Drop shipping companies rarely build brands behind that because you can't build a brand around fads that haven't yet happened because you don't know what to expect. On the supplement side, I mean, at the end of the day, you've got, a $20 billion supplements industry, most of which is unknown in terms of how it relates to the human body. So, I mean, how is that any different than being really good at marketing? Hey, these omega-3 acids are gonna help you have 3 shades different of color, and you're gonna have skin tone that blows through the clouds. What are we even talking about anymore? So in a lot of those cases, when the product is just something you're flipping, it becomes a marketing game. If it's a marketing game, it becomes a customer service game. And it kind of just keeps going back to that overall idea of the customer experience.
Mm-hmm. What about white labeling? So white labeling is when basically you use a product that's already been developed and it's ready for you to slap your own label on it and sell it. And this is a very affordable way to get into the products industry and create a brand, but using a generic product that's already been created, nothing proprietary, and there's probably already companies out there selling the same product under different brands, different labels. Is that something you would recommend for people getting into the product industry?
Listen, I believe in intellectual property and type brands, so I can't personally recommend that. Do you guys, is there the same thing of white labeling within the services industry?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, I could talk a little bit about that, and that's a way that probably in the last year, we started doing this with our company. If you're the best at any type of service or product, you can white label that out to other companies and be the one providing those services or products that people are slapping their label on and offering to their customers. And it's basically been a really great way for us to generate hundreds and hundreds of additional customers that are very safe, that don't know that we exist, because we're so good at executing the service that other companies reach out to us to say, we'd like to use your service and offer it to our clients. In my case, that's mostly digital marketing agencies using our specifically Instagram automation services for their clients. And if you're in the service industry and you're awesome at, executing writing services or lawn mowing services or something like that, someone might jump on as a really good marketer or already has a similar client base and says, I would love to offer this service to our clients. Can you help execute the service? And we will sell it to our clients. And I think that's very true for the product industry as well, but it's a very handy tool for anyone who's really excellent at delivering an awesome service.
So I have a question for you. Can you give me an example of a service business that's been white labeled that isn't automated in some fashion?
A service business that isn't white labeled, that is white
No,
labeled.
so a service business that is white labeled, that isn't automated. So it still has people at its core, it still has some service being provided. Can you provide an example of a business that doesn't run on an automated basis but is still white labeled?
There's a really good digital marketing agency white labeler. People go on there when they start their digital marketing agencies and they basically white label all of their services, from their website design, SEO, blogging.
So because they're so good at what they do in a package, then you just flip the package.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm getting at, is past the automation side of things.
Yeah.
Yes, when you have a pure process play, you can 100% white label
Exactly.
that. But if you have a personnel play, it's not as easy unless you're best in class. Think about it. If I'm the best designer in the world and somebody brings a project to me and says, hey, I have this project, I've already earned this business, but I'm not sure what to do, I'm gonna pay you to do it. If you're paying somebody else a project that you've already created, you're white labeling people rather than an automated product. So I think it's kind
Those
of
are like contractors.
100%, which brings
Yeah.
you back to that 1099 writing world. You actually white labeled people for your writing company on a non-automated basis. That's kind of remarkable.
Yeah, so those are essentially contractors. But back to your question of other services that can white label out their services that are not automated. So mine is automated, but there's still a service that is involved in it. I still have a whole team of people who are setting these clients up.
Right.
They're monitoring them, they're checking them. But I think a great example would be, and I totally agree with you, this really only works in the digital space.
Yeah.
If it's someone physical that you need to hire, that's a contractor, you're not white labeling.
Right.
But there's a really great service out there, and I'm not gonna do any marketing for them right now, but they basically offer website design, SEO, blogging, pay-per-click, and they white label their services. This is their focus now. They're white labeling their services to other digital marketing agencies. And these digital marketing agencies who are awesome at marketing are talking businesses into paying them $10,000, $15,000 a month. And then this company is turning around and paying this white labeling company $5,000 to $10,000 a month, and not having to deal with any of the process, not having to deal with any of the hiring, training, execution on the website, SEO. I think they even do the client facing for them. In terms of just a sales team, basically. It's really fascinating to me.
Interesting. So what is one example of a service business that you really admire today and has also hit a level of scale that you find impressive?
So something that I've always wanted to get into and still hope to sometime in the future is the SaaS business.
Got it.
Just software as a service. This is where you basically created the best software in its class for whatever it has to do. And now other businesses or people or consumers, direct to consumer, want to use this software. And then they'll pay you a monthly or annual fee for the ability to use this software. And it's, I think, the best business model that is out right now. If you can get into this space and you are either very tech savvy over in San Fran and in that area, in this space, and you can team with some of these people, software as a service I think is the best thing ever. I use Infusionsoft as an example, and I pay them $300 a month for the use of their software. They don't have to talk to me. They don't have to do any upkeep. They don't have to continue providing services. All they have to do is focus on their software. If I could go back or going forward, I think that's something that I would really like to get involved in.
Interesting. So taking this full circle, it's almost like that software business model is the white labeled service model. I mean, that's what it is. It's repeatable, it's automated, it's infinitely scalable, it has no inventory, and all you have to do is maintain it, provide the service behind it.
Absolutely.
Right.
There's definitely some crossover there.
Cool. All right, well, this has been a little bit of a chat on understanding the difference between product companies and service companies. We've got a couple more planned for you, so stay tuned, and we will see you later.
Stay tuned. Products or services, what's it gonna be? Signing out. Jay Feldman, Tommy Worcester.
Tom Worcester.